How's it going, everyone? Welcome back. Hopefully everyone's day's been going well. I've been waiting impatiently to do this video here. Joe Burrow, what are we seeing out of him in the 2021 season? Now let's take a look at last year. As we know, shortened season, ACL injury. Not the way you wanted to see the rookie year end. There's a lot of worry that, something like that was going to happen. No, because of how many times he was getting hit because of that offensive line. Nonetheless, Joe Burrow, 10 games, 2,688 yards, 13 touchdowns, 5 INTs. Last season in those 10 games, not quite a full 10 games, of course, there. And did throw for, 404 passes last season. And there wasn't a game where Joe Burrow did not throw the ball 30 plus times last season. Something to keep in mind here when we're considering this season, because I don't really expect that to change. We've seen that in the Zach Taylor regimen period when they brought Andy Dalton and they was having him sling the football way more than he's used to. Now that you got a guy like Joe Burrow, a talent like Joe Burrow, you best believe he's going to continue to throw that football and throw it often. So I don't see the attempts changing too much there. I'd like to see the, yards per pass go up, and that's something we could see this season or yards per attempt, I should say, go up this season with a better offensive line. We'll see, but just taking a look at some of the, teams the Bengals see frequently here. Burrow last season threw for 722 yards against the Cleveland Browns last season, but at the same time, in the 2 games they played against Pittsburgh and Baltimore, just 2, 1 versus each team, he threw for 396 yards. The big difference there, again, as we know, the offensive line and the defenses. The Steelers and Baltimore, very solid defenses, tough teams to throw against. But when you didn't have any time to throw the football, like Joe Burrow did in those games where they was forced literally to shut him down in the fourth quarter for his own safety, you're going to see those numbers skewed a little bit there. I do think we see a big improvement in the O-line this season. We bring in a new coach, we bring in some new faces. And some of these guys that were starting to figure things out at the end of last season, going to return here as well, continue to hopefully grow from that standpoint. I don't expect an elite offensive line for the Bengals. That's a far, stretch here you're asking for. But if you can get middle of the pack, a middle of the pack offensive line can do wonders for a guy like Joe Burrow. And it can make it look like a great offensive line, right? You get middle of the pack and they're forced to drop more guys back to try to slow down Joe Burrow as well because they can't get to him as quickly. So they're dropping more guys back in coverage, which is, at the end of the day, going to give him more time to throw the football. It's a scary thought, too. Joe Burrow with time, the way this man can just pick apart defenses, find the matchups he's liking, it's scary to think because look what he did last season without Jamar Chase, who they brought in this offseason. By the way, if you didn't hear, and he may or may not have been Joe Burrow's favorite target back in college. That's a pretty big addition. You've got guys like T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, already really good players. You bring in Jamar Chase. I think all 3 of those receivers very likely go out there or 1,000 plus receiving yards this season. Now, obviously, they got an extra game, so to make it a little bit easier. I think in a 16 game season, though, they're still hitting 1,000 plus receiving yards. This is a really good trio of players to have. And it is going to be an absolute nightmare for teams to try to slow all 3 of these guys down. And hey, we can't forget about the sneaky offseason pickup of Thaddeus Moss. Again, if you didn't know, former teammate of Joe Burrow at LSU. I think he had, about 570 yards, 4 touchdowns over there with Joe Burrow in LSU. So a tight end over there as well to help this team. You already have CJ Uzomah, who I think you look at and say, he's more than capable of being a 500 plus receiving yards kind of guy, 550, 600 kind of guy there. I can see Joe Burrow using him there. And you talk about if you just have 2 solid tight ends, or two average tight ends with 3, what we're going to call elite potential wide receivers, good luck. Good luck trying to slow this Bengals offense down this season. They can throw all over. It doesn't matter how good the defense is. We'll see. I do think there's no question about it, though. This team has unstoppable offense potential written all over. We'll see if it happens. Hoping for optimistic Bengals fan. That's what we do, to say the very least. One of the other questions we see come in here is remembering that Zach Taylor's a lot more aggressive than Marvin Lewis is. Marvin Lewis get a couple, score a lead, run the football, or 2 minutes left in the first half, run the football, run the clock out, whatever. You see Taylor put his foot on the gas a little bit more there, throw the football a little bit more, which is something that's, again, important because there's 2 things that's either going to happen in these games this season, right? You're going to see the Bengals in some shootouts where the defense struggles. They're going to have to put up a lot of points, which is, again, going to help Joe Burrow's stats. Or there's going to be cases where the Bengals, are winning, dominating a team, maybe a couple touchdown lead, maybe 3 touchdown lead. They might still sling that football in the fourth quarter a little bit. Not as, they're not going to New England 2008 New England Patriots it by any means, but they're still going to throw that football compared to where you see, a more conservative approach in recent Bengals memory under Marvin Lewis, I think there. And that's going to matter. All in all, I'm looking at Joe Burrow here and saying, let's go 4,800 yards. That's 285 yards per game, 4,800 yards 40 touchdowns for Joe Burrow. We're going to say 8 interceptions. That's our stat line. Joey B this season. Hey, I might be taking it lightly. We'll see. What do you guys think? Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time.